Good morning, everyone. Apologies for the delayed start. My name is Andrew Higgs. I'm the partner strategy lead for the Teams Rooms business across Asia, and I'm joined with with me today is my frequently co-host Kayla Wilson from Collabtech.
Hi guys.
I am going to be doing a little bit of talking today. I've just been talking so much this conference, and I'm losing my voice. So Kayla is going to be stepping in for
because your mic's not working.
Yeah, that's right. My mic's 100%. Oh dear. So yeah, what today we're going through. We've got 3 technical sessions lined up. The first one, we're going to be focusing on technical foundations, and Kayla's going to be talking about that. We're doing a speed round of it. It's normally like an hour to 2 hour segment, but Kayla's delivered it so many times. We're going to be speed running it. So we can make this as interactive as possible. So those who are online, feel free to ask your questions in the chat. I'll be moderating the chat, and also same thing here. If you guys have questions along the way, let's go through it. If we find that the content is already stuff that you already know and you want to focus on more specific content, then we're happy to talk about that and go deeper on that. So the 3 classes that we've got is the first one is about the foundations and talking about licensing and the market opportunity and so forth with Teams Rooms. The next one is on management of rooms, so Teams Admin Center and the Pro Portal as well. And also the final session is on signature Teams Rooms and signature Teams Rooms guidance and what the Hive team has put together to help obviously build those meeting spaces out and giving you guys the right idea of how to position the teams as signature Teams Rooms for your customers and so on. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Kayla.
Thanks, mate. So yeah, good morning, guys. A little bit of a speed run on this one today, but to be honest, I never run even close to the 2 hours that this is scheduled to when we do it. So I think this sort of 45-minute, 1 hour session will be completely fine. But as Higgsy said, if you've got questions, ask. So we've pretty much finished the introduction. I'm Kayla, that's Higgsy. We're going to talk about Teams Rooms. Very short video here, just talking about these new features. So I'll let this run for a minute. Great. So a really strong message, which I think we've all seen and heard over the last few days, but over this last year, is that we're at a crossroads where we've seen a huge shift in the way people work and what they want. And there's a little bit of a power struggle between the old concepts of what working was and being in the office a certain amount of time and what hybrid work really is. Hybrid work's not going anywhere. People want hybrid work. There is a incredibly strong desire in the workforce for that flexibility. That's not going to change. So companies do need to adjust, okay? But there's an awareness now, and I think this is where it gets really exciting for us, that people do want to come to the office when they're excited about it, when there's a reason for it. They don't want to be in there all day or every day, but they want to come in for specific times, meetings, chances to collaborate. And we need to give them spaces where this is possible. We need to give them a reason to come in and actually have some excitement. And that's something I've heard all the vendors talk about and everyone talk about these last couple of days is it needs to be exciting. There needs to be a reason for me to be in the office and not be at home, because we've all built these great home office setups. We're comfortable. It's easy to pick up the kids in the afternoon, whatever. Next slide, Higgsy. And there's some really hard data on this change and on this idea of like rebuilding these spaces. People are shrinking their real estate, like commercial real estate footprint, and maximizing the way that space is used. I've heard at least 3 vendors talk about brand new products just hitting the market for desk booking, because this is a new thing now. We don't have a desk for everyone because people aren't in all the time. So we need desk booking software and hardware. I've heard people talk about how important it is to have these multi-use spaces, because they don't have as many meeting rooms as they may have before. There's not this additional real estate footprint. So we need to make sure the room can be used in multiple ways. And we've seen all of these vendor technologies and Microsoft technologies to support that. The most exciting part of this slide, though, is, and this data is not completely dialed in, but it's pretty accurate. There are, I think, around 500,000 meeting rooms in Asia Pacific. Yep. 500,000. Of that 500,000, somewhere between 8 and 15%, lower end 8, higher end 15%, are video enabled. But they almost all need to be video enabled. The idea of an offline room now, or a non-technology room, it's not really a thing anymore, because even when it is a non-technology room, someone's carrying a piece of technology in there because they need to either have a remote participant join in, or they need access to something, or they need to display information. Next one here. So what we're doing as people that implement Teams rooms and as people that are like working across this technology is we're about to add a huge amount of value and help people in a transition they're already in. We're not driving this, no, we're not selling them on the idea of this. This is here. What we're doing is giving them the chance to reduce travel and expenditure, reduce real estate footprint, reduce AV complexity, because Teams rooms are simple and they're working on the infrastructure that most of these organizations are already working with. We're going to make things easier. So what are Teams rooms? Essentially, from a hardware perspective, it's a compute running an operating system, either Windows or Android. It's a camera, mic, speaker, and display, and in most cases, a touch panel or console to control it. That's essentially at its basics what it is, and that can, when we'll talk about the different type of categories that can run out to. It's software, so the Microsoft Teams Rooms application, and it's a license. It's going to have a license, which these days is a simple conversation. It's going to be the basic or pro. There are 3 core categories for Teams rooms, okay? There's modular. This is the most versatile type of solution, still the most common and in the most number of rooms, and the one that's going to address the highest number of needs. And it is, as it sounds, modular. We've got a compute there, a couple of mic pods in front, touch console, camera, speakers, and there'd be a display for all of these plugged in. This is going to be effective in the largest number of spaces, and it's going to address the highest number of needs. You'll see here, most of those Windows devices are going to be are modular. Majority of the Android devices, though, are what we would call integrated or all-in-one solutions. And that's essentially the compute, camera, speakers, mics, etc., all running in a single device. Still a native experience, easier to deploy, works in a huge number of spaces, has a lot of traction at the moment, especially for those small, medium type of rooms, but it doesn't address as many spaces as that modular solution does. Last but not least, the solution was that all-in-one board. We've got a few different options for that, with more coming. One of the most popular is Microsoft Surface Hub, which is just everything in a single big touch panel display, camera, compute, and all. The big differentiating factor for those all-in-one boards is mobility. They're generally on rolling stands. They're often, some of them have battery power as well, so they truly are mobile devices. I can wheel it into a room, I've got a VC solution. I can wheel it into a space, I've got a collaboration solution. Probably the least common of the 3 solutions, but it does address some really important needs. There. So yeah, next one's the vendors, Higgsy. Android. Pretty much all of them. I don't think any of those guys don't have, maybe audio codes I didn't see, but.
Yeah, audio.
Okay, well, I think that's everyone then.
Max Hub, who still yet to be certified, had their solutions on display as well.
They were on this slide, actually. They've been pulled up. So they're close. Yeah, they're close. Okay, so look, these are all our partners. You can go check out all their different solutions. I've learned a ton from these guys the last couple of days with all of their some of the stuff that Crestron and Logi are doing with their management software, with their hardware. It's really impressive stuff. Everyone's kind of wowed me actually with their vendor sessions. We did a whole session on this yesterday. There is, especially through Asia Pacific, a lot of rooms that are just BYOD spaces or rooms. Now there's a space for BYOD solutions, okay? In certain areas or certain types of meeting needs, BYOD does make sense. But there's a friction there. It's never going to be a smooth experience. It's not scalable, it's not manageable. And whilst it may seem like a cheaper solution to just use AV peripherals and carry your own device in, quite often it is in the long run going to cost you more because the impact on your ability to manage and maintain that is worse. The impact on the meeting experience is worse because it takes people longer to set up, get started, and the user experience is not as good. So there's a, it's a personal meeting being taken in a room as essentially, and there's a bunch of, like silly little things like your personal messages popping up and someone seeing something that you don't want them to. Versus just the complete, smooth, easy, frictionless Teams room experience where I walk in, touch a button, join a meeting. And we'll talk about some of that native Teams rooms experience and the benefits of that more in the next couple of slides. So we want to talk about the value proposition, and this is across Teams rooms. So this is not anything to do with anything vendor specific. And this is the messaging that Microsoft's been really sort of nailing and focusing in on. And I think it's very clear. We've got inclusive, okay? So we need to be inclusive in terms of having inclusive meetings where everyone can be seen and heard and equally contribute. It needs to be easy to use. It needs to be consistent. It needs to be fast to schedule, fast to start, and easy. It just needs to be easy. Flexible. We need to be able to have meetings in all different types of spaces, in different use cases. And we also need to be able to sometimes work with other platforms. And we'll talk about that flexibility in a sec. Last but not least, secured and managed. These things need to be easy to look after. We need to be able to get reports and alerting on them. We need to be able to put them into a structured IT support system and make sure that they are always secured and both accounts and devices are locked down and safe. So we'll talk about the specifics of this native Teams rooms experience. And this is where we should all be at. This is the base level Teams room experience now, where we can wirelessly share any type of content. We can use things like live captions, attributed speakers to know who's speaking, what they're saying. We can make sure that the Teams rooms experience is customized for each individual meeting. So we can change layouts, change the framing inside the room, change the what we're seeing on the screen, whether that's the speaker or content or both. And we can do things like silently interact with each other, raise our hand without interrupting the speaker, give them a quick thumbs up or a clap, all those sorts of silent types of communication that keep us human and keep us interacting. You'll see here something that's really simple, but does make a big difference in the actual user experience is that we maximize that screen real estate and give everyone a presence in the meeting, as much of a presence as possible per number of people. This is all just done automatically by Teams Room. You plug a device in, it's going to do this when the call starts, but it's important because it comes back to that inclusivity piece. That silent interaction I spoke about. This is something we in the room can do really easily. You guys can give me live feedback on whether or not what I'm saying makes sense, and you can nod, you can go, yeah, that's correct. Give me a little thank you. In a Teams meeting, a room meeting, sometimes that's a little harder to do. We're not all sometimes on the screen at once. Sometimes people do have their cameras off. Whatever it is, this just adds a layer of interaction. It just lets people get live feedback, lets the people know you're interested. And it does add quite a bit to the meeting experience in that sort of silent human way. Front row. Okay, so layouts are vital to the hybrid experience. And when we talk about signature rooms and some other pieces here, we'll talk about how front row is just completely key to that experience. The core component of front row is the face frames along the bottom, okay? Those video frames where everyone's at the same level and the screen is positioned at the right level, so we're all sitting at eye level. So when I'm sitting at the table, got my large screen there, I'm in a circle with people at the table, we're at eye level, we're in the meeting, we're all included. Those remotely coming in are now in that circle too. They're at eye level, they've got their own space and they can contribute. And with some of the new features, which we'll look at in a minute, we're looking to enhance that even more and make it seem like they really are in the room with us.
It's definitely one of those things that is kind of transformed meeting rooms for a lot of customers because they've had the option of moving away from those typical, content and video on screen at one time, but now bringing in loop components. So loop components being these artifacts that you interact with, whether it be in Outlook and defining the agenda for the meeting, having access to that agenda during the meeting and post meeting as well. These are artifacts that can be accessible and modified in one place, but changed everywhere they are found within inside, obviously, Teams and Outlook and so forth. So you were by talking about like the agenda and obviously having meeting chat on the front of room display, a lot of the time you're having a conversation at the front of the room, like Kayla and I now, we're presenting, and all you can see is just a presentation, or all you can see is just a gallery of people. Putting front of room chat on the front of room display allows you to have that parallel conversation, have remote participants be able to interact with those who are in the room as well. Bringing in the other loop components with agenda, which is coming soon. And currently, it's just raised hands. You're on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, wherever you want to put it. This means that you'll be able to track the meeting during the meeting. So you can actually see, we've allocated 15 minutes to talk about the introductions and everything like that. And you'll have a little timer that goes through and you can actually see the progress of the meeting and going, okay, guys, we're going to wrap up. We're about to start talking about, our next topic around sales strategy. And so you can keep those meetings on time, on track, and on the front of room display for everyone to see as well. So something that's coming soon to front row. But we'll talk about the other enhancements with the latest update in a little later on.
Expand. So we're now going to talk about some of the wow stuff. I think that it's been really amazing, the timing of Integrate, because all of these features, most of them went live just a couple of days before we kicked off. So AI-powered active speaker tracking. Now, if we have intelligent cameras in the room, and there's a range of intelligent cameras from a lot of vendors here. I'll let you get downstairs and show them off. If we do have that intelligent camera in the room, Teams is able to identify who is speaking, name that attendee, split them into their own video frame, and focus on them when it's their time to speak. It will take multiple video streams, send them up to Teams so that we're getting a very personal experience in the room, just like we would if we were in our home office and had our own personal camera. All right. We've got people recognition. So this is a feature of Teams Premium, I think, is where it's bundled under. Yep. Teams Pro. Okay. Teams Pro, where we're going to be able to enroll ourselves in our tenancy, be identified as this particular person. So when we walk into a meeting room, we don't need to say, hey, I'm Kayla, blah, blah, blah. We're going to have that name attribution done automatically, either through intelligent speakers or intelligent cameras.
So this is a very interesting thing because there is sometimes a bit of confusion around what cameras can do what capability. And so if those that attended the Ilya session we had on Wednesday morning, we spoke about what this actually means. So cameras, which are the PanaCast 50 and also Smart Vision 60 from Galing, are the first to be certified as true intelligent cameras. That means that they can support multi-stream, meaning taking the people's faces out and giving them their own individual video tile with a separate stream. So just like when you join a meeting from home, you have your own face and tile in a meeting, and you're a separate stream. That's what these intelligent multi-stream cameras are going to be doing. There's also cloud and teleframe. Now, cloud and teleframe is like on the polar opposite end of the spectrum. These are legacy cameras like the Rally camera from Logitech that doesn't have any internal smarts to be able to do video segregation or anything like that, but it's going to rely on the Microsoft Cloud to do that video segregation for you. So we're talking having the ability to then get that cropped view of people inside the room, but inside of a single stream, and it's all done on the cloud processing side, not locally done at the camera. Then you have a camera like the HP Poly E70 camera, which has the local processing power to be able to do the video segregation locally on the device and give you a rich high definition video, not using the cloud and teleframe, which will reduce the quality to 720p. E70 cameras can do local video segregation, and then it's still on a single stream. So I'll use HD Poly again. So they are working on the next version of camera to be able to support multi-stream, just like the Jumper Pass 50 and the Roundtable.
Link.
Smart Vision 60. So yeah, there's different cameras with different capabilities based on the similar look and feel as what you're seeing on the screen here. So we've publicized what cameras will be supported with cloud and teleframe. We've also obviously announced which ones are supported with multi-stream, and we're seeing a lot more vendors come along with getting support for multi-stream and getting their devices certified for that as true intelligent cameras.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
Is that so when it says cloud and teleframe, that's the one where you mean that the camera actually only supports one stream up to the cloud, and you do the segregation cloud.
That's right.
That's cloud in teleframe, correct.
The actual true multi-stream coming from the camera, that's the pre-processing happens on the camera.
That's right, exactly right. So the actual breaking out to the individual streams, the camera has to be powerful enough to actually break that out into and support multiple streams. So I think we're supporting up to four streams at the moment, based on with the camera portfolios that we have. Now I think that's going to vary depending on the device that's the camera that's being leveraged. So for example, the Smart Vision 60 is going to have 2 plus also panoramic. So you have 2 streams, 2 cropped people, and then the panoramic of the table in the multi-stream environment, versus the PanaCast 50, which will have 4 video streams, cropped views of all the people in the room. So it's going to vary a little bit, but yeah, the multi-stream stuff is it's still very new. It's only available on version 4.18 that we just announced this week.
Was it this week or last week?
Last week.
Last week,
but it's made available this week.
Yep.
And the cloud and teleframe stuff is done. It's for the remote participants, so you can actually disable. Cloud and teleframe is enabled by default. But if you don't want cloud and teleframe turned on, the remote participant can actually disable it. So they just want to be able to see a wide-angle shot of view of the table. They can right-click on the feed from home, disable cloud and teleframe for the room.
But they can't do it when it's multi-stream from the camera.
No, they can't. No. Okay. So multi-stream is 100% from within the room.
Yeah.
Can you quickly touch on the quality differences again between
Sure, absolutely.
cloud and teleframe? What does it mean?
Absolutely. So cloud and teleframe will scale down
the individual frame to 720p.
Yeah, so you're still one stream that's going out as high definition 1080p, but the actual frames will be scaled down 720 down to 540, depending on how many
frames
it picks up. It's not going to do more than 4, because otherwise everyone's tiles will be like that big. It doesn't make sense. So the cloud and teleframe is going to give you 4 feeds of between 540 and 720p quality, because it doesn't need to do. You don't need 1080p of a tile that big. But it's still going to be a 1080p feed. Multi-stream though, yeah, that's going to be multiple streams of 1080p. Cool. Great questions.
So here's some of the other great new features. I think all of these are live now as well, right? Except for, is segmentation pulled back? We pulled back. That's live. Okay. So, yep. All these are now live. Great. So first one, spatial audio, which is really, really, really impressive. And essentially what we're doing here is we're helping that immersion and helping you feel like those remote attendees are in the room by dividing their audio up based on their location in the front row. So if they're on this side of the front row, their voice is going to mainly come out of the speaker on this side of the front row. So it feels like they're talking to you next to you, helping bring them into that circle even more. Another huge benefit is the video gallery segmentation, where essentially we're removing backgrounds and popping people into the same background in that front row meeting, so we don't get that sort of disjointed and sometimes sort of jarring effect of everyone having such varied backgrounds, even though we're all sitting in the same room. It just makes us again feel like we're in that same circle. It's easy to see the person and not be distracted by whatever else is going on with the different sort of clashing frames. Yeah. It will,
Strip that out.
yeah, it'll be stripped out.
Yeah, so
Kind of their branding.
it is your branding, but for the purpose of front row, where the meeting is designed, you're looking to obviously have people inside the room. The look is to have people inside the room. It's kind of like saying walking into a room with a cardboard cutout behind you. Walking down and going, yeah. But it's like they want branding. Wear a t-shirt.
Yeah, I was going to say,
so the idea is to eliminate that, but also make people feel like they're sitting across them. So
yeah, it's a focus on that immersion and that inclusivity.
Yeah.
AI noise suppression. This is just okay. So we've got all vendors now. Every single vendor I saw this week has some type of additional noise filtering and noise suppression, because I think all of us are running into these glass boxes with polished concrete floors that are just absolutely reflective and echoey. In addition to those tools from the vendors, Teams itself now has AI audio suppression, which is very powerful. I've played around with this a bit. The amount of background noise it will filter out while still keeping your voice audible is pretty incredible. We literally, on the desktop version of Teams, and I'm pretty sure it's going to work very similarly on the Rooms version, I've run a coffee grinder next to me with noise suppression on high, and people can still hear me talk and not hear the coffee grinder. So it does an incredibly good job, and I've done that demo live a couple of times. It's pretty good.
So where we've changed noise suppression previous iterations, it used to be light, strong, extra strong of noise suppression, and the feedback that we got was, oh yeah, we don't want the ability to work out. We have to work out what grade of noise suppression we want either one on or off. So we just went, oh, okay, well, we'll change that. And so now it's either on or off. But on by default, and off, you can select that with the Skype settings XML file as well. So during a meeting, during the actual configuration, you can now also change it in the latest version. So noise suppression settings are you can change that for in the settings of your actual meeting. Otherwise, you can set a global setting through the Skype settings XML file, which you can apply for Windows devices. But Android devices, I don't think we have noise suppression yet. Coming soon.
You just said less than a year. That was as much as he was willing to give us. Okay, so this is a huge deal. This is, I think most of us, if we've been paying attention over the last few months, have heard about what Copilot's going to be doing in terms of this intelligent recap. This is essentially a Teams Premium wow feature. And what this is going to do is to summarize meetings, okay? Whether those meetings are summaries of who said what and when, whether that is mentions of particular companies or projects, whether that is mentions of other attendees, whether that is to-do items. So Higgsy said he is going to deliver this PowerPoint by next week. That will be flagged. There'll be a recap on it. It'll create a to-do list for those attendees, and we'll be able to go through the meeting with highlights on when things were said and who said them. We'll be able to go through text listings of those highlighted items I talked about and more. There's actually a lot of depth to that. There's even like sales insights and a range of things. It really is incredible stuff. And we'll be able to go back and revisit these meetings, whether we attended or not, and get a summary of what was said, what the insights were, what the to-dos were, and it'll even send out an email with that to-do list to attendees individually with their action items.
Has anyone got Teams Premium using this feature?
I know a mate of mine got it yesterday, but I don't think he's managed to do much with it yet.
So this is live. This is available now. This is separate from ChatGPT. This is separate from Copilot. You've got Teams Premium license. You've got the ability to leverage this inside the Teams. And I can tell you now, it's absolutely awesome. It makes so much more sense than transcribing notes and it's so much easier to say, Snaya's got an action on meeting with this customer next week. And then you go to the meeting summary, Snaya will be able to see that she's got that action through in the meeting notes. Anytime that Kayla's mentioned my name, I can find that in the actual talk track as well. It is so much easier to find your way through meeting recordings and transcription and all that kind of stuff when you're using Intelligent Recap as part of Teams Premium.
So how does that work? So say I want to set that up tomorrow.
Yeah.
What do I need to do? What do I need to have?
You need to have a Teams Premium license attached to your account.
Between Premium and Pro?
Okay, so we've been talking about Teams Room's Pro license.
Yeah.
So that's a room license.
Yeah.
The Teams Premium license is a user-based license,
Right.
above and beyond E3, E5, etc. So
you have like business standard and a premium license, or would it be?
yeah, business premium. Yeah, I think yes, you can. Business premium you can. Business standard or business basic, I think it is. You can't do with premium,
Okay.
because you need to have certain features within inside of Office 365 and so forth.
Connectivity that's required. And to make this truly work, there actually is some configuration to be done as well. It'll work straight away, but there is some connectivity that needs to be set up.
This is like the wow factor when it comes to Teams Premium. There's so much more that Teams Premium does above and beyond seeing on the screen here. But this is probably the most impact from a productivity point of view that Teams Premium provides. Other things as well as like watermarking when doing screen PowerPoint presentations and so forth. So you prevent people from feeling like they can just take a photo of your presentations and so.
I never do that.
Any means for a guest.
So if you've got a guest
Mhm.
coming into your
So again, you're only licensed for the meetings that you host within your organizations. The guests don't get the same just because you've got Teams Premium and you schedule the meeting. They don't get all the intelligent recap and all that kind of stuff.
I'm in there as guest.
Yeah, so it's relevant for people that have that license inside of your same organization.
They'll appear in the transcription as guest. And if there's 3 guests, it'll go guess what. I'm not sure if it's guest 1, guest 2, but I know they don't get attributed.
Yeah,
They're attributed as guest.
yeah, but you won't be able to. They don't get any benefits.
No.
From it.
No.
But if they're talking inside the meeting, yeah, you'll see their name appear at the bottom there. You don't get. They don't get any benefits from you having a Teams Premium license, if that makes sense.
Just to follow on from that real quick. So say they're in like a boardroom with a dedicated NTR license, Pro account, whatever.
Yep.
And then somebody, like an individual in that meeting, they might start recording the meeting from the actual room interface itself. That automatically then gets transferred over to their account, and then they can see that.
Yeah, so if recording is initiated with inside the room, the organizer is the one that obviously gets that recording.
It would be orchestrated from the whatever boardroom at something or other.com,
Yeah.
account.
Yeah, so the actual starting of that recording, but what happens is Teams will go.
Who booked this meeting?
Yeah, it's because you don't have like a OneDrive license attached to a room system.
Yeah, okay.
So it has to go, all right, who organized this meeting? We have to store this recording on their OneDrive. So technically, the meeting organizer is the one that stores that recording from that room system.
Right.
So in the case where you have guests coming into the meeting and you've got IntelliFrame using intelligent cameras that are doing multi-stream, if it doesn't recognize someone, they just get the meeting name, the meeting room name. So conference room 1, Kalo's enrolled. It recognizes Kalo. He gets his face cropped and it says Kalo Wilson on the tag. I haven't enrolled on my face. It just says conference room 1, and mate of mine hasn't done it either. It says conference room 1-2. So that's the way that will work. And yeah, will appear down here as those names.
And if you actually access that, you just go to your calendar and you click on the meeting, and it has, like, after it's happened, it has all that.
Teams. It's all through Teams. So
Yeah, so the meeting that's still in your list of chats or in your calendar, yeah.
You have to record for this work, or it just happens automatically in the background?
yeah, so there's 2 things. The actual the meeting has to be recorded in order for you to get access to everything that you see here. So all the notes and the actions and so forth. That's all. You have to do transcription as well as also recording. Copilot will be able to do that inside the meeting without it being recorded. So Copilot basically is someone else sitting in the meeting AI is going to be sitting in the meeting with you and capturing all those actions and notes, regardless of it being recorded or not.
But is Copilot separate to?
Yes.
Yeah, Copilot is separate.
Copilot is a separate license and product. That's I think $30 per person per month US. And it's basically Copilot sits across all of this. It sits across Teams, M365 tools, Graph API, and it's Copilot needs a little bit of work to be plugged in anything, but it's essentially like hyper powerful search and data gathering that's going to do intelligent things. So it's
but it's all built on inside your M365 tenant. Everyone's M365 tenant has their own instance of Copilot, which is using your corporate data that only you have access to. So you might work for the same, like, you know, Lee and I work for the same organization. Lee has access to things that I don't have access to, but just because we're using Copilot and he wants to create something, it's going to use the data that he has access to that I don't have access to, and in order to create things. I can't, just because we're part of the same organization, I can't create something that he has he's got access to. So it's all security based when you're looking to obviously pull data in from the outside.
It simply won't show for Higgsy. If he doesn't have access to it, it doesn't exist for him. Copilot has access to it, but the permissions are based on how your data permissions are set inside your tenancy already. So data management is the key to Copilot, and then as long as that's configured correctly, Copilot's going to work correctly.
So I might be writing a proposal for HP Poly and saying, yep, hey Copilot, write me a proposal, or create a PowerPoint presentation for HP Poly monthly business review next month. And it's going to go ahead and start pulling all the information that I can give it. I can spoon feed it statistical data from Excel, as well as also maybe some market insights from a brief that HP Poly had already sent me. And it will go ahead and create that presentation for me with all the information that I have access to, ready for my presentation. And I can then just massage it however I wish. But that's the power of Copilot. It's 100% designed to improve productivity. But we'll press forward. We're short on time.
We're very short on time now. He said,
I want to talk about licensing still. So
yeah, let's get to excellent. So this is a much easier conversation than it used to be, although there are still a few things to go through. There's Teams Room Pro and Teams Room Basic. Teams Room Pro is pretty much everything we've spoken about here, except for Copilot and Teams Premium, but generally the majority of AI features and things we've spoken about here are all bundled under the Pro license. Teams Room Pro includes everything. It's $40 per room per month US. Australian, I think it's 68.
About that.
Yeah, about 68 per room per month. And everything's included. We've got on the other side of the coin, Teams Room Basic. This is included with your device. So this is essentially a free license, and it enables you to have meetings and a very limited management set. You can see here we're missing some key things on the basic side: no phone, no Intune, no premium Azure AD, which means that quite a few features are not enabled. And I think, this slide's excellent. You can see here we've got some very key dots missing. We can't do content capture, so we can't use some of those really wow AI features for capturing live whiteboards. We don't have front row. We don't have some of these other layouts like together mode or large gallery. We can't do SIP and H323 interop. We don't get that multi-stream for intelligent cameras, so we're missing out on that entire feature. And we don't get multi-camera, which is a really big deal for some organizations, larger rooms, multi-use rooms, etc. We're not going to get our AI noise suppression. No conditional access, which is huge for security and very important for a lot of organizations. And we're not getting anywhere near as much reporting or system configuration or pro portal stuff. We're not getting our true management suite.
Doesn't mean that Basic doesn't have a place. Basic still has a place. It's one, it's a free license. Customers like us that want to have single room display, in-term device, might be an Android device, it's being deployed in there, and just joining someone's meetings. If that's the case, that's all I want to do, and have the typical shared content and gallery views. Great, that's fine. You can use a Basic license for that. But it's when you want to introduce other things like secondary displays, like 2 display rooms. If you want to use like
if you want to scale and monitor and manage, I think I can't see many large organizations having a space for Basic. I shouldn't even say large organizations with a larger number of rooms. It's limited to 25 already, But at the same time, even if you've got 20 rooms, I'd be struggling to see why you'd want basic unless you really don't use that room for anything except for straightforward.
Yeah, basic Teams meetings. Yeah, and it also does support us direct guest join as well. We can do direct guest join into Zoom meetings as well and WebEx. But more often than not, the appetite for more advanced features and also management as well. You can't discount that.
100%.
To manage these devices, it's 100% through the Teams admin center with basic license.
Which has functionality. You can see utilization, you can make changes to devices. It's still a powerful tool, but you're missing out on a large set of very rich features that are going to actually reduce your management time quite dramatically.
Yeah. So Teams Rooms Pro is in many cases more applicable. A lot of customers want Teams Rooms Pro because they either might just want to front of room displays, or they want to use that management layer, or they want to see and feel and touch all the cool features that are coming through with front row and intelligent cameras and so on. So yeah, that's lots. Any questions about licensing with Teams Rooms? 2 licenses, Pro, Basic. Yeah. Gone are the days of standard licenses and
Premium licenses. Yeah.
Premium used to be like $55 US per month. Now we've got Pro, which is $40 US per user per month. So it's a little bit cheaper, but there's a lot more capabilities you get with the Pro license now than you do get with Premium.
Conceptually, it's changed a lot as well. But...
Cool. Last one is information for you guys. So the last one I want to quickly talk about is the badges. So we have our sales and technical badges that I would love for you guys to get enrolled in. Does anyone have their badges today? Good to see. Good to see. Thank you, Lee. So we have Expert Zone, which is a way for partners and customers to be able to jump in and showcase their capabilities when it comes to all things Teams Rooms. So,
these exam guys. Well, you can fail. I failed the first one. But you can attempt these exams as many times as you want. So it's not like a Microsoft technical certification exam where you've got one shot, you're paying a couple $100, and you've got a proctor there.
Take it multiple times.
Yeah, and it helps. Like I said, I take the first one twice.
I wrote the technical exam. So myself and my technical peers in Redmond wrote that one. And we've got 2 exams. We've got the 2022 one and the 2023 one. It is quite heavy on the tech. So if you've attended any of the other sessions about Intune and conditional access that we had running in the other rooms in the previous days at Integrate, that's setting you up for success. Yep. If you haven't been able to attend any of those, we do have learning pathways. So you can do some online learning, online training.
To the exam is actually the learning for the exam as well when you click into Expert Zone. So there is content to help you.
Absolutely. And also Kalo runs a lot of these fundamental trainings and sessions as well. And we also have our other partners at Imply that also do deep dive technical training as well for all things Teams Rooms. And we run those on a monthly basis as well. So there's always online training that's delivered live that you can register for. But yeah, definitely.
I found the sales one harder than the technical one.
So yeah, we've got 2 badges. Sorry, technically there's 4 badges. For 2022, 2023, but you also get the assets that you can download and put on your LinkedIn and so on.
It's credibility. It's recognition of the knowledge you've got, and it helps give you that not just the confidence, but also lets clients know that you are actually a professional and recognized as such around this technology.
That is it. Thank you very much, everyone. And yeah, if there's any questions, feel free to ask me.
I just have a question for audio. One bugbear we find in our meetings, in super large meetings, it's usually 1 or 2 people talking, and people will put their hand up, or their virtual hand up to speak. In our smaller meetings, say 10 people, someone will go to talk, and then someone else will go to talk. And it's really I don't know how to explain it. It's quite annoying, I guess. Is there any solution to that other than raise your hand? Or I think it's like that delay or that.
Yeah, you do have that occasionally, and I've actually had it in many of my meetings where You know, when people try and talk over each other, that is 100%, 100% meeting hygiene. It's like it's best practices. You really gotta be considerate of others, and that's why we have things like raised hands in order to be able to bring order to meetings. Lee and I, we've experienced this in multiple global calls and regional calls where people don't want to leave the call without saying what they want to say. And it can get a little bit frustrating sometimes when people just try and talk over each other. The only thing you can really do there is try and encourage the use of raised hands so that there actually is structure and order to meetings, because that's what it's designed to do. So it's not something that we can really.
If you really need to structure this, which I have had to do with some international calls and larger calls as well, webinars is a good option, because setting in the meeting as a webinar gives you the quick ability to mute and unmute attendees and enable their microphone usage, so you can actually control their mic usage, which is, you know, a little totalitarian, but it helps.
Yeah. Like the sessions that we're in today, the audience at the moment can't unmute and they can't turn on the video for privacy reasons. So, you know, you have the control to be able to set your calls up and say only the presenters can unmute, or only these people can unmute. You know, you've got full control when you're setting up the meetings. So have a look at that, and have a play with webinars. I'm actually a huge fan of Teams webinars.
Yeah, I use them constantly.
You get registration pages and you get recording control. One of the biggest bugbears I had was post-meeting sending out a recording to attendees. Now with webinars, you can just go to, here's all the recordings that were made for that meeting, publish, and it'll send an email to all the people that registered a copy of that recording.
That actually closed quite a big deal for Teams rooms recently. I worked with Pro AV, and they were having a client moving over from very heavy WebEx use.
Yeah.
And that feature was an absolute must-have.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you very much, everyone. Please stay around if you want to learn more about the next one, which is all about management of meeting rooms. Thank you very much for attending.
Thanks, guys.